morning, everybody. Welcome back to Barber Dave's Barbershop at Home for a Tuesday, 2 days after Christmas, 3 days after Christmas, something like that. Anyhow, those of you that have been watching the channel know that I just got this in the mail yesterday, and that is the Essence Razor by Tedalus. We'll go ahead and do the shave first, and then I'll give you first impressions and first comparison impressions between that and the other removable straight blade razor that is really the closest to a straight razor, and that is the Feather DX. Hope everybody's doing well. Been excited about this shave for a while. We'll also go over what we're using for the shave as well. I will, give some impressions while I'm doing the shave as to the balance, the ergonomics, and everything else. The biggest thing I noticed right off the bat in the comparison between the two is the actual angle of attack. The Essence razor has a little bit of a steeper angle. I would probably make the comparison that it is, and I'll show you that at the end, I would make the comparison of a full-bellied hollow versus maybe a quarter hollow on a regular straight razor. And you'll also notice that I also call the Feather and the Essence a removable blade straight razor as opposed to a shavette. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, being a professional barber, there are certain legal nomenclatures when it comes to razors. And they are double edge razor, single edge razor, shavette, hair shaper shavette, and removable blade straight razor. And this all goes into the legalities of what can be used in specific states. In the state of Arizona, we can still use a actual straight razor for all barbering, shaves and neck lineups and ear lineups and stuff like that, and fade lineups and so forth. However, many states have to use what they call removable blade straight razors. Now, the reason why I call them a removable straight razor as opposed to a shavette is tomato. To me, a shavette is something very similar to a hair shaper blade, which is what I use for when I do my actual straight razor haircuts, and that would be like the Sifter, the Dovo, which they're very, very close, both made in Germany, and then of course the Weck, and then some other hair shapers made by Fromm and some other things. Those are a little bit longer blades, or they use a half DE blade, much shorter in stature, and the angles are not as intense, meaning what I'm saying is they don't try that much to follow the angles and the bevel angles of a straight razor, where the removable blade straight razors do. In other words, if you get a DE shavette that has the little latch that comes up and you open that up and you snap the DE blade in and snap it over, if you look at the profile of the blade, the thinness and the bevel angle of the DE razor are straight. It's a lot like some of your Japanese camisoris, Western camisoris, and also some of your Chinese camisori-like folding straight razors. They have a very straight angle on them and don't account much for a bevel angle as much as a regular straight razor. So that's the difference, and that's why I call these a removable blade straight razor, because they most closely adapt to a straight razor. Now, the one caveat to that is the Essence razor by Tedalus can accommodate a multitude of different blades. So is the argument that it's part removable blade straight razor, part shavette? Well, that's just a matter of opinion. I don't like the term shavette. I think either it's a removable blade straight razor or a hair shaper, because that was their initial intent. So just my opinion. Okay, so here we go. This is loaded with a brand new feather blade. Right out of the gate, I will say that the thumb notch and the jimps are wonderful. It does have a monkey tail, so from a pitch and yaw angle, it's a little heavy on the tail, but nothing that can't be handled if you. I don't usually use the thumb notch as much, but we'll see. Because when you use the thumb notch, it's really, really balanced well. first impression is it's actually smoother than the feather on the face. Less blade feel, although the angle, and as I said, the angle of attack on this is a little bit steeper, but balanced well, feels good in the hand, really good. As I said, the only knock that I would give it right out of the gate is that the yaw angle is you have to hold this razor a little bit more so than either the DX or a regular straight. And I think in the design phase of this, the monkey tail was probably meant to counter that balance, but very smooth on the face. So right out of the gate, for the first pass, the initial face feel is very good. There's a little bit less blade exposure on this as opposed to the DX. Not much. I mean, we're talking small amounts, but very smooth. And as I said, the only knock that I give it right now is just that the yaw. You have to pretty much use your wrist and lock it as a fulcrum like you do with a straight razor. So in that respect, it does mimic that very, very closely. Okay, let's see how she does on the other types of passes. For first use, very impressed. I like the shave angle. I think the ergonomics, like I said, I have to give the ergonomics right now to this razor as far as the feel, how it's held in the hand. And a lot of that is due to where it's manufactured. The Feather, being a Japanese razor, is going to be all about function. All about efficiency, not so much about form. But it could be argued that that form is what makes it beautiful, the simplicity. Whereas this has got the flair of something European, the big monkey tail, which is nice because you can put your whole hand on it. The one thing I do give this, because even though the DX does have a small thumb notch, it's much, much less. This is more like a traditional straight razor. And when I'm doing this pass, I like to close up my razor, and having this thumb there is perfect. Because it gives you much better control. So again, I've got to give that to this. And as far as pure aesthetics is concerned, some like the Kai, definitely they knock it out of the park with this. So far, so good. I did find that I have to adjust my angle of attack a little bit because, as I said, this is a much thinner profile, which I'll show you in just a minute. Also, somebody asked me yesterday in the comment section about, I think it was Soap Thing, asked about how much straight razor experience do you have to use a shavette. Well, again, this is a huge debate on whether you should start with shavettes or start with straight razors. I am of the opinion that you should start with straight razors or a removable blade straight razor, not a shavette. Some of the worst injuries that I've ever had come from a DE bladed shavette. And again, it all comes down to the engineering. It comes down to the shave angles. And that's just my opinion. So to me, do not start with a shavette. Start with a straight razor if you're going to go down the straight razor path. Or start off with a removable blade straight razor. And actually, in my opinion, the best removable blade straight razor is a Feather SS or that type of clone. The Feather SS is a razor that actually mimics not only a straight razor, but also mimics a DE. And I'll show you what I mean here. This is a Feather SS clone. Now, if you notice the difference in the blade profile, this has got a bump right at the end of it. So you can get the feel of a straight razor, but that bump actually, instead of you having to stretch, it stretches the skin for you. So it's kind of a hybrid. It's like a DE, but it's also like a straight razor. So I would recommend an SS or the SS types for that type of shave. Especially when you're starting. So something, I hope that helps. Again, for doing my last pass, being able to fold the razor, use the monkey tail, and that deep thumb notch. Again, I have to give this the nod over the feather. Now again, these are just first impressions. I plan on shaving with this thing probably for the next 5 or 6 days, and then I will do a physical actual comparison shave with half my face with this and half my face with that. Now, that being said, when I'm doing my chin area, this thing is long for me. I've got a short neck, so if I'm coming across my face, I do have a tendency to hit thing because of the monkey tail. So in that respect, I'll give the size advantage to the feather. In this, I think, this razor, you need to pay a little bit more attention to your angle of attack. So again, I'd give that portion of it to the feather because you can just pretty much go if you're familiar with straight razors. So far, this is probably leading the feather on certain issues. And as I said, these are just first impressions on that. And both are using a brand new Feather Pro Guard blade. I probably will try a Feather Pro and a Feather Pro Super just to see what it's like. I will not do a DE blade in this. I don't believe DE blades belong in anything other than a DE, but again, that's my opinion, because I think a DE blade is a shavette. Although a lot of people like them, I don't like the shortness of the blade. It allows too much problems for angle. This has actually got a very close blade size to my Chevalier. Still a little bit small. That's the only thing I don't like that I will give to the feather, is the feather does have just a tad bit longer of a blade size. Even though it's the same blade, it just feels more like a regular straight razor in that respect. But again, I have to reiterate, the face feel on this razor as far as how smooth and how well it glides across the face is far and away better than the Feather. I will say that. Okay, let's see how we did. Wow. A little bit of cleanup. Not much. This will be interesting to see how this does. And I am going to try flat blading this. With that large monkey tail, it's very easy to do. Very smooth. So initial impressions are, I would say that the Feather, now I'm using the Camisori, but obviously using the folder as well. Very similar, but most of it right now, after additional impressions, is kind of leading towards the Tedalus, except for blade angle and ease of use. This one requires a little bit more concentration in the beginning. Like I said, this is my first use of it, so I'm sure that'll get better. Based on the alum, also I would give that, but then again, this is the first use. I would give that to the Feather because you don't have to worry about pressures much, but I think because of the angle of attack difference, I got a little bit, not that it's real bad, but I think my pressure was a little bit too much because it is such a smooth feeling razor. I mean, literally like nothing. Let me put it this way. It feels like the ASD2 DE on your face. No blade feel, no nothing. So I think what happened is I probably put a little bit extra pressure because I didn't feel the blade. That's probably what happened. So I'll adjust that as the days go by before we do our actual comparison. So take that for what you will so far. Now, let's get into the other part of it. Is it worth, with the stand, the nearly $400 price point? Again, prices are all in the eye of the beholder. Some people say, what in the heck would you buy a shavette, although it's not a shavette, for that when you can go out and get a Dovo for 20 bucks, 30 bucks? Well, it's a matter of opinion. This is a beautiful razor. It comes with a beautiful stand if you decide to do that. So it's art, in my opinion. And those of us that are in this hobby, big time, not only from a standpoint of being a forum owner, but being a barber, we're entrenched. So cost is not going to be, that much of a thing. Is it the first removable blade straight razor you should buy? No. As I said, the first thing you should do is get used to shaving either with a straight or use the Feather SS or clone of that. Today we're using Thayer's Cucumber based on the soap, and the soap we used today was Ethos Greenfresh, which has got a cucumber, spearmint, lemongrass, one of my favorites. For the aftershave, we will be using the same thing. So let's go over this real quick before we put the aftershave on while the Thayer's. So when we look at the two, now please understand that this is just a comparison for this part forward, not about the ergonomics or anything else. If you notice, and I don't know how well you can see this, the angle of attack, or in this case, the bevel, is much more of a shallower angle on this, or steeper, depending on how you do it. So therefore, you do have to adjust accordingly. Now, on the folding DX, the balance, it's a little bit lighter than this, so the balance is a little bit better at the thumb notch point. This with the monkey tail and the larger scales does give this a little bit more yaw, but you can lock the blade and your fingers in to prevent that as long as you use your arm as a fulcrum and you don't do this. If you start doing this with this razor, you're going to get injured. So other than that's the only knock. As far as the face feel of this razor, I have to give it to this one. As far as the overall shave with the razor, too early to determine because I think I overpressured it and everything else. However, I will say on my lateral passes and my mustache passes, having that deeper thumb notch and being able to lock this index finger in and then actually spread it out over this monkey tail, again, better than the feather. As far as beauty, again, the Japanese razors are Japanese razors. Now, once again, the folder is very pretty. It's shorter. It's smaller in the hand. It's lighter, but it's very, very basic. You know, very, 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 very utilitarian, very, very efficiency based. This is a piece of art. And I think that it's worth it. The only thing I'm worried about is, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a detente in here that you actually push the blade up against. I know that's been discussed before. I don't see any problem with it because you're not going to slam the blade shut and everything else. So as far as the holder, this one wins hands down. It's got one of the most beautiful stands that I've ever seen, and that is solid stainless steel. So we're going to shave with this for the next week or two. Then we'll do an actual side-by-side. I'll probably bring my folder home so we can actually do a true comparison, even though really this is the only part that matters from here up, and same with the Tedalus. Okay, for our aftershave today, we're going to be using Ethos, Greenfresh rather, and again, just a lemongrass, cucumber, spearmint. That's like, you know, this is what heaven should smell like. And then, since there's no EDP for this as far as I know, we're going to try something different. And then also, this is odd, but we're going to actually be using Penhaligon's English Fern for the talc today because it has that fresh feel of greenery. Oh yeah, it definitely. Hold that thought. So for those of you keeping score on my talc issues, 2 days ago I did a talc bomb, which means it was basically like I punched a bag of flour on my face. Well, today we were doing that was actually engineered. We were doing some specific engineering to see how far a vintage Crabtree and Evelyn weighted brush would fly if I tossed it. And right now we're sitting at 7 feet 9 inches. So for those of you keeping score, we'll do that. No, I'm just clumsy as hell. Every once in a while, and this happens at the shop too, I get the dropsies, and it happens. Okay. Wow, the English Fern goes wonderful with that. That's the first time I've tried that. And then for the EDP, again, I do not have, or I don't even know if Frank makes an EDP for the Greenfresh, but one that matches perfectly is the Floris, and if I could read the label, this is Floris 1962. It shares a lot of the cucumber, the lemongrass, but it also has a very strong spearmint note, and spearmint is probably my favorite note altogether is spearmint. I just love it, and this stuff I have a tendency to go completely nuts with. So that's it, folks. I hope you liked the first impressions of the Tedalus, or the Essence. It's a wonderful razor. So far, so good. First impressions. I know this went a little bit long, but that was just to make those impressions as well. So up here, don't forget to see my buddies, Nurse Dave, Major Rich, KJ, Bill, and if we can ever get Gear Nor to start doing videos again, we'll show him up there. But you'll see their links right up here with some information. Down here, if you like what you see, barber pole with the cowboy hat, subscribe, and then under here somewhere, you'll see a bell. Hit that bell, and that'll give you reminders anytime I come out with new content. So probably won't make a video tomorrow. I'm going to use the Tedalus for the next week or so, or maybe less, and then we'll do a final comparison to see which one reigns supreme or if they're even. I'm Barber Dave. This has been Barber Dave's Barbershop at Home. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and if we don't see you beforehand, have a very happy New Year. Take care. I can't forget this. Sorrentino BrushWorks, the pillars of creation. I forgot to say that. Sorry about that, Eric. But yeah, all nice and clean and beautiful. Have a great day.